From Cornwall to Birmingham and Johnston and Bexhill, here's Ruben Spire on the radio.
Hello to Rebecca Downs. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. Enjoying this nice weather, which is a bit of a turn up for the books.
It is. Yes, it's very nice outside. So thank you very much. Thank you for letting me chat to you today. So, can you tell me how long have you been a blues rock singer songwriter for?
Far too long. No, I'm only joking. Um, Gosh, I mean, I've been involved with bands since I was like 13 years old, so a long time, and sort of always in a rock, blues, or even harder, heavier versions. So for a long time, but in the Rebecca Downs band, probably about 10, 11 years now. So a long time.
So, can you tell me more about your debut album called Back to the Start?
Yeah, I mean, me and Steve Burkett co-write all the songs. He's the guitar player, and we co-write all the songs. And um, when we kind of found each other, so to speak, we kind of started to write together and kind of recapture a lot of love of music I think that I'd lost. Not a love of music sort of listening to it, but I think you can get very jaded being in originals bands. It is a lot of hard work, and I took a few years out up to that point, and then kind of met up with Steve, and the album is kind of even though it's quite an eclectic album. It's got a lot of different sort of spins of genres on there, really. Sort of roots based, I would loosely call it. But it was kind of like it's a celebration of me and Steve finding each other as songwriters, I think. And that's kind of all where it came from. And there's a real sort of, when I listen to it now, I can hear sort of the excitement and perhaps naivety as well. But so the title back to the start, sorry, is we were both going back to our sort of songwriting roots and also our love of music roots. So every song on there has kind of a link to what's kind of really inspired us from kind of day dot. So that's kind of like the theme of the entire album, really. And it was, yeah, what started it all off, what kicked it all off.
So, what was it like going into the recording studio?
What, sorry?
What was it like going into the recording studio?
What was it like, sort of like after all that time? It was strange, really. I mean, we were being helped by a friend of mine, Mark Viner Stewart, who ran a studio at that time, and the whole album was done on a wing and a prayer. Like, I know a lot of artists have spent a lot of money on their debut album. That was literally done on this shoestring of shoestrings. Mark sort of gave his time for free because he really believed in it. After hearing us play, and we've stayed, friends ever since. The musicians that played on it did it for free for me, really, for expenses and a beer. And it was a real sort of, there was a lot of warmth recording that because of how it was recorded, because there wasn't money being thrown around. It really was people, friends helping out friends, and people doing it because they just sort of wanted to, and they just sort of wanted to help me out. And so being back in the studio, it was kind of, we fitted into his studio whenever he didn't have another client. So it was kind of as and when, and sort of, so it wasn't kind of, oh, let's have 10 days in the studio. It was, right, I've got a spare afternoon here. What can we do with this? So it was really exciting. And as I say, it was a great time recording that, because there is some amazing players on there. I think, I would like to believe that they're good songs. I think they, represent us at that particular time. So it was lovely. It was lovely, and I always think back on that time fondly.
So we move on now, a couple of years. So can you tell me more about if I can go to sleep?
If I go to sleep, well, yeah, that track was it was kind of a hard hitting track for the album that followed after that. So it was a single, and it was on the album More Sinner Than Saint. And what was quite funny about this is that we assumed it would be chosen as the first single by the radio person we were working with at the time. We just assumed it would. So we went all out, got a friend of mine, we did the video. I thought it was a great video. There's lots going on. And then they chose a different song. They chose Hurts. So to be the first single, which did actually do really well. But it just goes to show you, wait until you know which one they've chosen before you spend a lot of money on the video. But if I go to sleep, the song itself is kind of, and it's resonating today. And I do this every morning. I wonder that when I go to sleep, when I wake up, what will the bad news be today? And so that's what it's all about. It's about, I think that it's all right when I go to sleep, and then you wake up and like the world's going crazy, and there's another war broken out somewhere else, and somebody's killed someone down the road, and it's kind of so that's what the song's about, really. It's kind of like, you go to sleep, you pray, if you are religious, for something decent to wake up to in the morning, and that's what that song's about, really. It's about the ghosts sort of rattling around in your head as well that time of night when you fall asleep.
So going to move on now to continue more about More Sinner Than Saint album.
Yes, I actually have it tattooed on my arm. You can see that, and then you turn it around. It says Sinner, but then you turn it around, of course, it says Saint, and it did that on the vinyl, and it still does. So if you put the vinyl on, as it spins around, it turns from being Saint to Sinner all the time, which I thought was really cute. That album there's so much that went on with that album, and it was kind of I think like giving birth to quadruplets, that album, really, in a way. Although I've never given birth, so I just assume it would be a painful experience from what people have told me. But that album, we'd written just so many songs like we do. We always write a lot of songs. Sometimes we write songs that are completely not for the Rebecca Downs band, and they go on a back burner for as and when. But a lot of these songs, it was kind of heading in a prog almost direction with some of it, and I love Pink Floyd a lot, and there was kind of elements of that. We were being courted at the time by a management company in LA, so before that was brought out, I was over in LA a lot, and a lot of those tracks were produced by a guy called Bill Drescher, who's worked with, walked into his studio and it's just covered in gold discs, and you're like, woo, okay. And he had 2 really cute dogs, so that was also great. And he was fantastic. And they were trying to pitch us to Warner Music at the time. I never believed that Warner Music would sign us, because I just thought, Warner Music have just signed the likes of Dua Lipa. I don't know if they're going to be into a blues rock singer. But it was a great experience. So it was a great experience to get those tracks that we love produced by somebody of that ilk, really, because he's just such a legend in the industry. And it's probably, even though a lot of people really like the latest album, and of course I do, I'd say that if I had to choose a favourite of ours, it would be More Sinner Than Saint. I just think it aligns a little bit more with me. I don't know, just in its entirety, although I do love all of them. It's like choosing your favourite child. So And just the line, more sinner than saint. I mean, that's got me written all over it now, really.
So, can you tell me more about A Little Bit of Love?
A little bit of love. Do you like it? You a Free and Bad Company fan? So yeah, that was the album that's on, A Space Between Us. We wrote and recorded over lockdown, which is obviously completely different to how we've done it before. I wasn't gonna put a cover on it, but then Steve said, I've always loved this song, and what a great sentiment. All we need is a little bit of love. And I heard it and I just thought, well, obviously reheard it and then just thought, want to put this song on the album because it kind of represented that time that in the world, what was going on, what was happening. And I think it kind of summed up the way that we did the album, because that was done with a little bit of love as well from everyone involved again. We'd got people out of work in the band. We'd got people, suffering various family problems and all that, including myself. But we kind of brought it all together. We took the time out and brought it all together when we could have just, I suppose, sat and done nothing. So I just felt like we wrote it and we put that song on to not only hopefully cheer some other people up, but to kind of cheer up ourselves as well. So we hope people enjoy our version of that song.
So, can you tell me more about the album called Space Between Us?
Well, that album is, the one that it has got a little bit of love on, and that's, as I say, that was written over a lockdown. And it was produced as well by a guy called Gavin Monaghan from Magic Garden Studios in Wolverhampton, who has produced the Editors albums, Paolo Nutini. Again, he's you can Google him. I'm pretty sure he's got a huge list of amazing artists to his name. And even though, as I say, we'd recorded a lot of the parts separately, like people had recorded parts in their house, I'd recorded a lot of the vocals here, in my own home, and we'd kind of perhaps sometimes not been recorded in the best way. I mean, you do it as best as you can, but if it's not a formal studio setup that you've immediately got to hand, it's never going to be that. It's never going to be as good as it can be. Even though, there's loads of home studios, but it depends on how adept you are at using them. So Gavin Monaghan did an absolutely fantastic job, actually. I think he kind of brought the songs out. They were there, they were recorded, but he actually brought them to life on that album. So the Space Between Us is it might not have even been written if it wasn't for lockdown. We wrote it because we said, let's make a really live sounding album because we can't play live. So all the tracks, very sort of live sounding tracks, not kind of the epic production and longer length that More Sinner had been, More Sinner Than Saint. So definitely more hard hitting, more guitar based, and it received a lot of lovely comments and reviews, and very, very proud to have been a part of it with Steve and the band, and the fact that we actually sort of achieved something when it seemed like nothing was achievable.
So it must have been quite hard being a musician during COVID time.
It was incredibly odd, incredibly odd, and an incredibly odd way to work, because me and Steve have writing sessions 2 to 3 times every single week. If we're on holiday, obviously not, but as a regular rule, 2 to 3 times a week, and to have that cut off as well. So we were having video calls, and we got by, but it's not quite the same, is it? Let's face it.
So, can you tell me more about The War Is Over?
Yeah, we produced that as a. I've always been a big fan of Melissa Etheridge, and I've seen her live, and I think she's an amazing songwriter, probably one of the best. Definitely, like for me, the female Springsteen. I don't think she gets the recognition in this country that she deserves. In America, she gets a lot more recognition than she does here. Um, this was a track that we have done charity singles before, and my late mother at the time was suffering from dementia, and I wanted to release a track again in aid of Dementia UK and just kind of spreading the word. And I just thought the song had a great sentiment, even though it's written from a personal perspective. This war is over. I think there's a lot of people struggling with their own personal wars, and I know I was at the time. And I just thought it might resonate with people and raise a bit of money. And I just love the song. So hopefully, it did what it set out to do.
So I know you got some gigs coming up. So can you tell me more about that?
We have got our final show before I have a little summer break. We have a little summer break this year. As I said, it's been a kind of a strange year. My mum's passed away. My dad's very unwell at the moment as well. So taking a little time out to kind of try and get him back on his feet. So next Thursday we're at the Hare And Hounds in King's Heath in Birmingham, in good old Brum. Then I'm doing a charity gig up north in Darlington in aid of Matt Long and his cancer treatment. And I'm part of I'm getting up with a house band there. Can't exactly remember the date. It'll be on our website, RebeccaDowns.com. And then when we come back after the tiny break, which isn't actually much of a break, because even though we've took a break from gigging, we're recording all the way through and working anyway. But the gigs come back then, and then we're putting together then an autumn and winter tour. So everything will be on the website. Some are on there now, RebeccaDowns.com.
So can you tell me more about how's being an independent artist for you?
What's it like? It's bloody hard work. It's excessively hard work. I teach at 2 universities in Birmingham as well, teaching popular music and music release, and vocal coaching. So I do like a plethora of things for them, and the institutes that I work for are excellent in what I think a modern artist needs to be, which is you need to be a jack of all trades. You need to have a portfolio career. You need to be pushing your own music if that's what you want to do. You also need to be doing other things. You need to be producing loads of content, which means probably filming every gig. Hopefully, if you can, recording the live for every gig so you can make content out of that without having to go out of your way to do it. There's an awful lot of money being spent in the independent sector by artists themselves, which is if they want to do it, that's fine. I know a lot of artists. I know artists that have remortgaged their house. I know artists that are spending inheritance that they've got. I know other artists that have got millionaire fathers. And that's fine. If that's what they want to do, and that's the place that they're at, of course, that's fine. The only problem is if you are not the millionaire, you will not, well, even if you are the millionaire and you can afford to spend it, you won't get any of it back. And all this money isn't being spent necessarily on the recording and all the rest of it. It's being spent on things like, 10 grand for PR, 10 grand for a radio plugger, 5 grand for another plugger that works with different radios. And then you've got all the social media advertising, and you can spend thousands and thousands on social media advertising. It really adds up super quick. Then you've got people buying Spotify bot streams because they're under pressure. And I get that. I understand the pressure that people are under, because the promoter that doesn't know what he's doing can look at Spotify and go, oh, but you've only got so many monthly listeners. I need you to have 2,000. So all they'll do is go, right, Google, buy Spotify plays, and they'll get those monthly listeners up. But then you're spending a lot of money because you've got to keep that ongoing and ongoing and ongoing. Because as soon as that runs out, you've got to do it again and again and again. And then you've got to buy magazine articles. All the independent magazines, it's all pay to be in. Again, I understand magazines are not selling. So they have to have money from somewhere. But then again, that's, you buy the front cover, £800 to £1,500. You also get a little article for that. You can easily, I know artists that are easily spending £50,000 to £100,000 releasing an album, and that's an independent artist, not somebody that's run by a record label. Then you've got support tours, support buy-ons. The list could go on and on and on. So what we try to do is we try to be a little bit more sensible about it, because we haven't got loads of money to throw at it. We never have done. So we try to be a bit more savvy. I think what I'm really lucky with is the fact that we've managed to cultivate a section of hardcore fans and followers who really, really support us. So they may not be in their millions, but they're very, very amazing, and they keep us going.
So finally, can you tell my listeners where can they find you on your social media?
If you go to RebeccaDowns.com, all the links are there, but I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. If you want to see lots of my dog as well, please go to TikTok, because he's getting way more attention than I'm getting. To be honest, rightly so.
Thank you for letting me chat to you today.
It's lovely to speak to you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
And you take care, my darling.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.